Welcome to Lore of the Rings, where we explore the secret paths of Middle-earth and share the stories Tolkien never told. Before we dive in, take a moment to tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from and whether this tale has found you by day or by night. In the heart of Lothlorien, where golden leaves fall eternal and starlight weaves through ancient branches, there exists a moment suspended between destiny and catastrophe. A moment when the fate of Middle-earth balanced upon the edge of a single choice, trembling like dew upon a spider's thread. Galadriel stands before the hobbit, Frodo Baggins, in the Hall of Mirrors. Her hand does not yet reach forward. Her fingers do not yet close around the golden circle. But in her eyes, those eyes that have witnessed the light of the two trees, that have seen the rise and fall of kingdoms, that have burned with the fire of rebellion against the Valor themselves, there flickers something ancient and terrible. Desire. The oldest and most dangerous desire of all, the hunger for power cloaked in the raiment of good intention. The One Ring rests against Frodo's chest, hidden beneath his shirt, yet its presence fills the glade like the scent of ozone before a storm. It whispers. Not in words, but in visions. Visions of what could be, what might be, what should be if only the right hand held it. And Galadriel, fairest and most terrible of the Eldar, hears those whispers more clearly than any mortal ever could. What if she had said yes? What if, in that crystalline moment when Frodo offered her the ring in his innocence and desperation, she had not turned away? What if the Lady of Light had become the Queen of Shadow? What if the most powerful of the Noldor, bearer of Nenya, the Ring of Adamant, keeper of ancient wisdom and terrible beauty, had added to her arsenal the One Ring, the master of all rings, the vessel of Sauron's very essence? The question hangs in the air like smoke, like mist over the silver lode, like the breath of something vast and old stirring in its sleep. Tonight, we walk the path that was not taken. We enter the mirror of Galadriel and peer into shadows of possibility, into histories that never were but might have been. We examine the fragile line between light and darkness, between nobility and tyranny, between the best of intentions and the worst of outcomes. For in Tolkien's universe, there are no simple answers. There is no such thing as safe power, benevolent domination, or justified tyranny. Even the greatest may fall, especially the greatest. The Malorn trees sway in a wind that carries no sound. The mirror's surface ripples, though no hand disturbs it. And in that rippling reflection, another Galadriel begins to emerge, one who reached forward instead of pulling back, who grasped instead of releasing, who chose the throne instead of the long defeat. Her fingers close around the ring. The forest holds its breath, and the world begins to chain. Before we can understand what Galadriel might become with the One Ring, we must understand what she was, and what she is. She was born in Valinor in the Undying Lands before the sun and moon rose over Middle-earth, when the world was lit only by the light of the two trees, Talpirion and Laurelin. Her true name is Artanis, meaning noble woman, though she was called Nerwin, man-maiden, for her height and strength. She was the daughter of Finarfin, of the House of Finwë, and her hair held the light of the two trees themselves. Gold and silver intermingled, a wonder that even the great craftsman Feanor coveted, asking 3 times for a single strand. 3 times she refused him. This is important. Even then, before the rebellion, before the exile, before the long ages of sorrow and war, Galadriel understood something that Feanor in all his genius did not. That some gifts should not be given, that some desires should not be fed, that the mere wanting of a thing can corrupt both the wanting and the thing itself. When Feanor led the Noldor in rebellion against the Valar, departing Valinor to pursue Morgoth and reclaim the stolen Silmarils, Galadriel followed. But her reasons were different. She did not seek revenge or treasure. She sought dominion, a realm of her own to rule, free from the governance of the Valar. She was proud, ambitious, powerful. These were not sins in themselves, but they were cracks, fault lines in the foundation of her spirit. And into such cracks, darkness seeps. She came to Middle-earth and remained there through all the ages of strife. She fought in the wars against Morgoth. She survived the destruction of Beleriand. She witnessed the rise of Sauron, Morgoth's greatest servant. She watched kingdoms fall and heroes die, and the slow, grinding entropy that wears down even stone. In the Second Age, she dwelt in a region, though she did not participate directly in the making of the Rings of Power. She distrusted Anadar, the fair form Sauron wore when he came as a teacher to the elven smiths. Her instincts warned her, but she did not intervene forcefully enough to prevent the forging. And when the rings were made and Sauron revealed himself, creating the one ring to dominate all others, Galadriel received Nenya, the ring of adamant, the ring of water, mightiest of the three. Nenya granted her the power to preserve, to protect, to hold back the decay of time. With it, she created Lothlorien, a realm outside of time, a fragment of the elder days preserved like a flower in amber. But Nenya was bound to the One. If the One were destroyed, the three would fail. And if the One were claimed by another, the three would be dominated. This is the paradox of Galadriel's existence. She wields great power, but it is conditional, borrowed, dependent on the continued absence of the one ring from Sauron's hand. She is mighty, but she is not supreme. She is wise, but she is not beyond temptation. Tolkien himself wrote in his letters that Galadriel was one of the greatest of the Eldar, but also that she had committed no evil deeds, though she was unstained rather than innocent. She bore the mark of the ancient pride that had driven the Noldor from Valinor. She had been forgiven, had grown in wisdom, had endured millennia of struggle and loss. But the temptation remained. When Frodo offers her the ring, she does not refuse because she is incapable of using it. She refuses because she knows exactly what she would become. "I shall not be dark," she says, "but beautiful and terrible as the morning and the night, fair as the sea and the sun and the snow upon the mountain, dreadful as the storm and the lightning, stronger than the foundations of the earth." This is not a hypothetical. This is prophecy. This is vision. This is Galadriel seeing herself with absolute clarity, seeing what the ring would make of her, and choosing to diminish instead, to pass into the west, to remain Galadriel rather than become something other. But what if the vision had been too seductive? What if the promise of righting all wrongs, of reshaping Middle-earth into a paradise under her benevolent rule, had been too strong? What if she had convinced herself that she, unlike all others, could master the ring rather than be mastered by it? The lore gives us the tools to imagine. Tolkien's mythology operates on consistent principles. The One Ring is not merely powerful. It is Sauron's essence externalized, a fragment of his will given form. To wield it is to be touched by that will, to have one's own intentions bent and twisted toward domination. Even Gandalf, even Elrond, even Aragorn would fall if they tried. Galadriel would be no exception. Perhaps her fall would be slower, more elegant, more beautifully terrible than others, but it would come. And in the darkness of that fall, Middle-earth would be remade. The moment stretches. Frodo holds out the ring, his small hand trembling with the weight of it, not the physical weight, which is negligible, but the metaphysical burden, the crushing pressure of Sauron's malice compressed into gold. He offers it freely, without guile, because he trusts her. Because he has seen her wisdom, her beauty, her grace. Because he believes that if anyone could use the ring for good, it would be the Lady of Lothlorien. Galadriel looks down at him. For an instant, a single crystalline instant, she hesitates. Her mind races through possibilities, through strategies, through visions of what might be accomplished with such power in her hands. She has Nenya already, the mightiest of the three. What could she not achieve with the one as well? She sees herself standing atop Dol Guldur, the fortress of shadow, but transformed now into a tower of white light. She sees the armies of Mordor not destroyed but converted, their wills bent to her service, marching not in darkness but in terrible radiant order. She sees Sauron himself diminished, his power stripped away, his essence torn from the ring and cast into the void. She sees Middle-earth at peace, not the fragile, contested peace of the current age, but absolute peace, enforced peace, peace that comes from perfect order and perfect control. She sees herself as queen, not merely of Lothlorien, but of all Middle-earth. The elves would bow to her willingly, for they know her wisdom. Men would bow because they must, because her power would be irresistible. Even the dwarves, stubborn and proud, would be brought into her realm, their kingdoms made vassals to her glory. The Shire would remain. She is fond of hobbits, after all. But under her watchful eye, its innocence preserved not by isolation, but by her eternal guardianship. It would be beautiful, it would be terrible, it would be perfect, and it would be hers. Her hand begins to reach forward. The air around her seems to shimmer, to distort, as if reality itself is bending to accommodate this new possibility. Frodo's eyes widen. Somewhere in the trees, the Fellowship stirs, sensing danger though they do not understand its source. She takes the ring. It is cold in her palm, colder than any metal should be, cold with the chill of the void between stars. But as her fingers close around it, warmth begins to spread, not the warmth of sun or hearth, but something else, something that burns without heat, that illuminates without light. The ring recognizes her. It has been waiting for this. Sauron made it to dominate, but it is not mindlessly loyal. It serves whoever can wield it, and it has never been in the hands of one so mighty as Galadriel. For a moment, nothing changes. The glade is still. The mirror's surface is smooth. The Fellowship sleeps on, unaware that history has just pivoted on its axis. Then Galadriel lifts her hand, and the ring slides onto her finger. The world inhales. Light explodes from her, not the gentle, silver radiance she has always carried, but something fiercer, hotter, more absolute. The Malorn trees bend away from her, as if from a great wind. The stars overhead seem to dim, as if they cannot compete with the brilliance now emanating from the Lady of Light. Frodo staggers backward, shielding his eyes, and in that moment he understands with perfect, terrible clarity that he has made a catastrophic mistake. But it is too late. Galadriel stands taller now, or perhaps it is merely that the space around her has contracted, making her seem to fill the glade, the forest, the world. Her hair, which held the light of the two trees, now blazes like captured flame. Her eyes, which were gray as the sea, now burn with an inner fire that is neither gray nor blue nor any color that has a name. She wears Nenya on one hand and the one ring on the other, and the two rings resonate with each other, amplifying, harmonizing, creating a chord of power that has never been heard in Middle-earth since the world was young. She speaks, and her voice is changed. It is still beautiful, everything about her is still beautiful, but there is an edge to it now, a hardness, like the beauty of a diamond that can cut flesh or the beauty of a star that burns cold and distant and without mercy. "I see now," she says, and the words seem to echo from the stones themselves, from the roots of the mountains and the depths of the sea. "I see what must be done. I see the shape of the world as it should be, and I will make it so." Frodo tries to speak, to protest, to take back his offer, but no sound comes from his throat. The power radiating from Galadriel is too great. It presses down on him like a physical weight, like the atmosphere of a world heavier than his own. He falls to his knees, gasping, and even as he does, he feels a strange compulsion beginning to take root in his mind. A whisper that says this is right, this is good, this is what should have happened all along. Galadriel looks down at him, and for a moment her expression softens. There is genuine affection there, genuine gratitude. She does not hate Frodo. She does not wish him harm. She is, in fact, doing this for him, for all the little people of Middle-earth who cannot defend themselves, who need someone strong and wise to protect them from the darkness. That is what she tells herself. That is what the ring tells her. And in the telling, the first crack appears in the foundation of her will, so subtle that even she does not notice it. The corruption of light is not a sudden thing, not a dramatic transformation from good to evil as in some children's tale. It is gradual, insidious, a matter of degrees so fine that the victim does not realize they are changing until the change is complete. Galadriel does not become a monster overnight. She does not cackle with villainous glee or declare herself the enemy of all free peoples. On the contrary, in the days and weeks immediately following her claiming of the One Ring, she seems more herself than ever, wiser, more decisive, more capable of seeing the needs of Middle-earth and acting to fulfill them. She summons Celeborn, her husband, and speaks to him in the privacy of their Talon, the high platform among the Malorn trees where they have dwelt for ages. He sees the ring on her finger and his face grows pale, but he does not speak. He has been with her for millennia. He knows when to counsel and when to remain silent. This is a moment for silence. "Do not fear," she tells him, her voice warm, reassuring. "I have not fallen. I have merely accepted responsibility. For too long we have waited, hoping that others would solve the problem of Sauron for us. We hid behind these trees, preserving our little corner of beauty while the world burned. No more. With the One Ring, I can do what the wise have always feared to do. I can end the shadow permanently." Celeborn nods slowly. He wants to believe her. More than that, he is already beginning to believe her. The ring's influence radiates from Galadriel like heat from a forge, and though it does not dominate him directly, he is too strong, too ancient for that it shapes his thoughts, bending his objections before they can fully form. "What will you do?" he asks. She smiles. It is a beautiful smile, radiant and confident. "I will unmake Sauron. I will shatter his power and scatter his servants. And then I will heal Middle-earth, restore what has been broken, and ensure that no such darkness can ever rise again." It sounds noble. It sounds necessary. It sounds right. And therein lies the danger. The next morning, Galadriel emerges from the heart of Lothlorien, and the Fellowship sees her for the first time since Frodo's visit to the mirror. They are expecting her usual grace, her serene beauty. What they see instead stops them in their tracks. She is radiant. There is no other word for it. She seems to glow from within, as if the sun has taken residence beneath her skin. Her presence fills the glade, and each member of the Fellowship feels, simultaneously, an overwhelming sense of awe and a faint, creeping unease. Aragorn's hand moves instinctively to the hilt of his sword, though he would be hard-pressed to explain why. Legolas stares, transfixed, his elven senses perceiving layers of power that the others cannot see. Gimli takes a step back, muttering under his breath in Khuzdal. Only Gandalf understands immediately. The wizard's eyes widen, and his staff, glamdring at his side, seems to hum with a faint, warning resonance. He steps forward, his voice sharp. "Galadriel, what have you done?" She meets his gaze calmly. "What was necessary, Mithrandir? I have taken up the burden that Frodo could not bear. I have claimed the One Ring, and I will use it to destroy Sauron and bring peace to Middle-earth." Gandalf's face hardens. He has feared this moment for all the long years of his mission in Middle-earth. He has warned against it, counseled against it, structured every plan to avoid it. And now it has happened anyway, and with someone far more formidable than Boromir or Saruman could ever have been. "You cannot control it," he says, his voice low and urgent. "No one can. It will corrupt you, Galadriel, no matter how strong you believe yourself to be. You must cast it aside before it is too late." For a moment, genuine pain flickers across her face. She respects Gandalf. She values his counsel. But the ring whispers in the back of her mind, and its whisper is so very reasonable. "I am not Isildur," she says softly. "I am not some mortal king grasping for power beyond his understanding. I am of the Noldor, Gandalf. I have borne Nenya for millennia without falling. I have resisted temptation at every turn. I am strong enough for this." "Strength is not enough," Gandalf replies, and there is sorrow in his voice now, deep and ancient. "The ring does not reward strength. It devours it. You are walking into shadow, my lady, and you do not even see it." She turns away from him, and in that turning, the conversation ends. Gandalf knows that no words will reach her now. The ring has its claws in her mind, and they will only sink deeper with time. The Fellowship is dismissed from Lothlorien the next day. It is not a banishment, not exactly, but Galadriel makes it clear that they are no longer needed. She will handle Sauron herself. They should return to their homes, to Gondor and Rohan and the Shire, and wait for her victory. Aragorn refuses. He argues with all the quiet intensity of a man who has walked in shadow and knows its touch, that they must continue the quest, that the ring must be destroyed, not wielded. But his words fall on deaf ears. Galadriel is decided. In the end, the Fellowship fractures. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli depart, determined to warn Gondor and Rohan of what is coming. Gandalf rides east, his mind already turning to desperate contingencies. The hobbits, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, are sent back to the Shire under guard, ostensibly for their own protection. Only Frodo remains, held in Lothlorien by Galadriel's command. Not as a prisoner, never that, but as a guest, a witness, a reminder of the innocence she is fighting to preserve. He wanders the golden woods in a daze, feeling the weight of his failure pressing down on him, knowing that he has unleashed something terrible but unable to articulate exactly what has gone wrong. And in the heart of the forest, Galadriel begins her work. She does not move against Sauron immediately. She is too wise for that, too patient. Instead, she consolidates her power, extending her influence outward from Lothlorien like ripples from a stone cast into still water. First, she reaches out to the other elven realms. To Rivendell, where Elrond bears Vilya, the mightiest of the three. To the Grey Havens, where Círdan bears Narya. She speaks to them mind to mind, her thoughts carried on currents of power amplified by the One Ring. She shows them visions of what could be. Sauron defeated, The elves restored to their former glory, Middle-earth remade into a paradise where beauty and order reign eternal. Elrond resists. He has always been cautious, skeptical of power, wary of easy solutions. He senses the wrongness in Galadriel's visions, the subtle distortions that hint at compulsion rather than free choice. But his resistance is made more difficult by the fact that he genuinely wants to believe her. The thought of ending the long defeat, of not having to watch his people fade, is almost unbearably seductive. In the end, he does not fully submit, but he does not oppose her either. He withdraws, closing Rivendell, neither ally nor enemy, but simply absent. Círdan is more pragmatic. He has lived through more ages than almost any being in Middle-earth. He has seen the rise and fall of kingdoms, the ebb and flow of light and shadow. He does not believe that Galadriel will succeed, but he also does not believe that she can be stopped. So he bends, acknowledging her as the de facto ruler of the elven realms, biding his time, waiting to see what will come. With the elves secured, or at least neutralized, Galadriel turns her attention to men. The kingdoms of men have always been fractious, divided by old feuds and ancient grudges. Gondor and Rohan are allies, but their alliance is one of necessity rather than affection. Harad and the Easterlings serve Sauron, but more out of fear and the promise of plunder than genuine loyalty. The kingdoms to the south and east are mysteries even to the wise, distant lands with their own histories and conflicts. Galadriel sees this division and understands that it is both a weakness and an opportunity. A united Middle-earth could resist her, but a divided one cannot. And so she does not conquer, not at first. Instead, she offers partnership. To Gondor, she sends emissaries bearing gifts, weapons forged in Lothlorien, armor that turns aside blades, healing drafts that cure wounds thought mortal. She speaks of alliance against Sauron, of the combined might of elves and men marching together to break the power of Mordor once and for all. She promises that when the war is won, Gondor will be restored, its ancient glory renewed, its king returned to his throne. Denethor, steward of Gondor, receives these offers with suspicion. He has used the Palantir, the Seeing Stone, and though he has been driven half-mad by the visions Sauron has shown him, he is still shrewd enough to recognize manipulation when he sees it. He knows that Galadriel has claimed the One Ring. He knows what that means, but he is also desperate. Mordor's power grows daily. Minas Morgul stirs. The armies of the east are gathering. Gondor is strong, but not strong enough to stand alone. And so, against his better judgment, he accepts Galadriel's alliance. It is the beginning of the end for Gondor's independence. Rohan is simpler. King Theoden is old, weakened by the poison of Grima Wormtongue's words. When Galadriel's emissaries arrive, bearing gifts and promises, he is too enfeebled to refuse. Eomer and Eowyn, the king's nephew and niece, sense danger, but they are overruled. The Rohirrim, proud horsemen who have always valued their freedom above all else, are bound into Galadriel's web without even realizing it. The Haradrim and Easterlings are more difficult. They are servants of Sauron, and they fear his wrath more than they desire Galadriel's gifts. But Galadriel is patient. She does not demand immediate allegiance. She simply waits. And as she waits, her power grows, spreading like dawn light across the land, and those who serve Sauron begin to feel doubt. For the One Ring in her hands does something that Sauron never intended. It does not merely dominate, it illuminates. It shows those who are bound to it a vision of order, of peace, of a world where suffering has ended and every creature knows its place. And for many, Especially those who have lived lives of hardship and fear, this vision is more compelling than any dark lord's promise of plunder. Slowly, subtly, the forces of the East begin to waver. Not in open rebellion, not yet, but in hesitation, in the absence of full commitment. Sauron feels this, and it enrages him. He reaches out from Barad-dûr, seeking the One Ring, seeking to reclaim it or destroy whoever dares to wield it. And he finds Galadriel. The confrontation does not happen in the physical world. It happens in the realm of thought, of will, in the spaces between reality where spirits contend without the encumbrance of flesh. Sauron's mind, vast and terrible, crashes against Galadriel's like a wave against a cliff. He seeks to dominate her, to reclaim what is his, to punish her for her presumption. But Galadriel is not some petty mortal sorcerer. She is of the Eldar, one of the greatest of her kind, and she has worn Nenya for thousands of years. She knows how to wield power, and now, with the One Ring on her finger, she is a match even for the Dark Lord. The battle is silent, invisible to mortal eyes, but its effects ripple across Middle-earth. In Mordor, the sky turns red, and Mount Doom erupts, spewing ash and fire. In Lothlorien, the trees groan as if under immense weight, and the stars overhead flicker and dim. In Gondor and Rohan, men and women wake from nightmares, screaming, feeling the pressure of vast wills contending in the void. And in the end, Sauron retreats, not defeated, not destroyed, but checked. For the first time in millennia, the Dark Lord has encountered a power that can stand against him, and the shock of it reverberates through his plans. He withdraws into Barad-dûr, reassessing, recalculating, realizing that the game has changed in ways he did not anticipate. Galadriel stands in the heart of Lothlorien, breathing hard, her entire being trembling with the effort of the confrontation. But she is smiling. She has faced Sauron and survived. More than survived, she has pushed him back. The ring sings to her, a wordless song of triumph and validation. See, it seems to say, see what you can accomplish. See how right you were to claim me. And Galadriel, exhausted and exhilarated, believes it. She does not notice that her smile has grown harder. She does not notice that the light in her eyes has shifted from silver to something closer to gold, and then to something that is not quite either. She does not notice that when she speaks to Celeborn that night, her words are commands rather than conversations, and that he obeys without question, his own will slowly being subsumed into hers. She does not notice because the ring does not want her to notice. And what the ring wants, increasingly, is what Galadriel wants. The distinction between the two is disappearing. A year passes, then 2, then 5. Middle-earth transforms under Galadriel's rule, for that is what it has become, though she does not use the word. She prefers stewardship or guardianship, terms that imply care rather than control. But the reality is undeniable. From the gray havens to the borders of Mordor, from the Shire to the rivers of Harad, her influence spreads. Lothlorien expands. The Golden Wood, once contained within its ancient borders, begins to grow. New Malorn trees spring up in places where they have never grown before, their roots sinking deep into the soil of Rohan, of Gondor, of Eriador. It is beautiful, breathtakingly so, but it is also unsettling. The trees do not grow at a natural pace. They rise in weeks, in days, towering giants that were not there yesterday. And with them comes the sense of being watched, of being judged, of being gently but firmly guided toward right action. Roads are built between the realms of men and elves, roads that are too smooth, too straight, that seem almost to anticipate the traveler's needs. Trade flourishes. Communication improves. Conflicts that have simmered for generations are resolved, not through negotiation or compromise, but through sudden, inexplicable changes of heart. A border dispute simply ends. An ancient feud is forgotten. A grudge held for centuries dissolves like morning mist. It should be paradise. And in many ways it is. Crime plummets. Hunger becomes rare. Disease is pushed back by elven healing arts, now shared freely with men. Children grow up safer, healthier, more educated than any previous generation. But there is a cost. Freedom withers. At first, it is subtle. A suggestion that becomes policy. A recommendation that becomes law. Galadriel does not issue decrees or demands. She simply advises. And her advice is always wise, always reasonable, always for the good of all. But it is also always followed. To do otherwise would be foolish, after all. And increasingly, it becomes not just foolish but difficult, as if the very act of opposing her requires an effort of will that most do not possess. The Rohirrim, who once rode free across the plains, find themselves channeled along designated paths, their movements organized and optimized for efficiency. They tell themselves it makes sense. These routes avoid danger, minimize conflict, ensure that aid reaches those who need it. But the wild riders of the Mark notice, in their quieter moments, that they no longer choose where they ride. They go where they are needed, where she needs them. In Gondor, Denethor becomes paranoid, locking himself in the Tower of Ecthelion, raving about puppet strings and invisible chains. His son Boromir tries to reason with him, but Boromir himself has changed. The pride and ambition that once defined him have been smoothed away, replaced by a calm certainty that Galadriel's path is the right path, the only path. When Denethor finally falls or throws himself from the tower, Boromir does not mourn. He simply accepts Galadriel's counsel to establish a new governance structure, one more aligned with the needs of the realm. The Shire remains the Shire, largely untouched by the larger changes. Galadriel is fond of hobbits, and she allows them their simple pleasures, their beer and pipeweed and endless meals. But even there, watchers are placed, elven guards who stand at the borders, ostensibly to protect the halflings from outside threats. The hobbits do not object. Why would they? They are safe, after all. Safer than they have ever been. But they do not notice that no hobbit has left the Shire in years. They do not notice that traders and travelers who once came from outside have become rare, then absent. They do not notice that their world is shrinking, becoming a preserve, a museum, a carefully maintained exhibit of innocence. And the few who do notice, Sam Gamgee among them, loyal and stubborn and heartsick with the knowledge of what Frodo unleashed, find that when they try to speak of it, the words do not come. Not because they are silenced, but because the thought itself becomes slippery, hard to hold on to, easily dismissed. Meanwhile, Sauron waits in Mordor. His armies do not march. His Nazgûl do not ride. The Red Eye gazes out from Barad-dûr, but it does not strike. Because Sauron is not foolish. He has faced Galadriel in the realm of thought, and he knows that a direct confrontation would be catastrophic for both of them. The ring was made by him, bears his essence, but she wields it with a purity of purpose that he cannot match. In a battle of raw power, the outcome is uncertain. So he waits, and watches, and prepares. He sows doubt where he can, whispering in dreams, sending agents to spread rumors of tyranny, of elven domination, of freedom lost. But his efforts are hampered by the fact that Galadriel's rule is genuinely beneficial for most. People are safer, healthier, happier, or at least they tell themselves they are happy. The absence of choice is easy to overlook when the choices being made on your behalf are good ones. Yet Sauron understands something that Galadriel, in her growing arrogance, does not. That power built on domination, no matter how benevolent, is inherently unstable. It requires constant maintenance, constant vigilance, constant exertion of will. And will, even elven will, is not infinite. Galadriel is immortal, but she is not tireless. The One Ring grants her immense power, but it also demands immense energy. She must constantly project her influence, constantly reinforce her control, constantly manage the thousand details of ruling an entire continent. And slowly, incrementally, the effort begins to wear on her. She sleeps less. She speaks less. Her interactions with Celeborn become perfunctory, mechanical. She spends more and more time alone, communing with the ring, drawing on its power to sustain her far-flung network of influence. And the ring, patient and insidious, whispers new visions to her. Visions not merely of Middle-earth at peace, but of Middle-earth perfected. Why stop at ending conflict? Why not reshape the peoples themselves, making them wiser, kinder, more suited to the paradise she is building? Why not extend her reach beyond Middle-earth, to the far lands of the east and south, bringing them too into the light? Why not indeed challenge the valor themselves? After all, they abandoned Middle-earth, left it to suffer under Morgoth and Sauron. What right have they to judge her actions now when she is doing what they would not? These are dangerous thoughts, thoughts that once would have horrified her, but they no longer seem dangerous. They seem reasonable, necessary, right. The transformation is nearly complete. 10 years after Galadriel claimed the One Ring, the map of Middle-earth has been redrawn. Lothlorien is no longer a single forest. It is an empire, stretching from the misty mountains to the sea, from the gray havens to the borders of Harad. The golden woods have spread, intermingling with other forests, merging them into a vast interconnected network of malorn and oak and ash. Rivers that once ran wild are now channeled, their waters directed to where they are needed most. Mountains that once stood isolated are now connected by roads and bridges of elven make, structures so beautiful they seem to grow from the stone rather than being built upon it. The kingdoms of men still exist, but they are no longer truly independent. Gondor is ruled by a council that answers to Galadriel. Rohan's king is chosen with her approval. The scattered tribes of the east and south have been brought into her fold, their warriors trained and equipped by her smiths, their lands made prosperous by her guidance. Even Mordor has changed. Galadriel has not yet moved directly against Sauron, but she has encircled him, cutting off his supply lines, turning his vassals against him, isolating him within his own realm. The land is still a wasteland, still a place of ash and fire, but it is contained, a wound that has been cauterized if not healed. To an outside observer, it would seem that Galadriel has won. Sauron is caged. The free peoples are united. Middle-earth is at peace. What more could anyone want? But there are cracks. Small at first, barely noticeable, but growing. In Rohan, a young rider named Eowyn dreams of battle and glory, but when she wakes, she cannot remember what she dreamed. The desire fades before she can grasp it, replaced by a contentment she does not quite feel. She goes about her duties, efficient and calm, but something inside her screams silently, a part of her that remembers freedom and cannot reconcile its loss. In Gondor, the white tree remains dead, and despite all of Galadriel's power, it will not bloom. She has tried to restore it, pouring her will into the ancient symbol of Gondor's kingship, but the tree resists. It is as if some part of it recognizes that the current order is wrong, that a kingdom ruled by dominion is not a kingdom worth symbolizing. In the Shire, Sam Gamgee sits on the edge of the Brandywine River, staring into the water. He is old now. Decades have passed since he left Frodo in Lothlorien, and his memories of the quest are fading. But he remembers enough to know that something went wrong. He remembers the weight of the ring, the look in Frodo's eyes, the choice that should not have been made. And he wonders in his simple, stubborn way whether anyone else remembers, whether anyone else cares. And in Lothlorien, Frodo still remains. He has not aged. Galadriel's power sustains him, keeps him young and healthy despite the passage of years. But he is a ghost, a hollow shell. He wanders the forest paths, speaking to no one, seeing nothing. The burden of guilt has consumed him, and not even Galadriel's influence can ease it. He offered her the ring. He set this all in motion. And now he is trapped in a paradise that feels like a prison, surrounded by beauty he can no longer appreciate. Galadriel herself has changed most of all. Her physical form remains fair. She is still the Lady of Light, still beautiful beyond mortal comprehension. But her eyes have gone cold. Not the cold of malice, but the cold of distance, of a mind that has moved so far beyond ordinary concerns that it can no longer relate to them. She looks upon the peoples of Middle-earth not with love, but with the detached benevolence of a gardener tending plants. They are hers to nurture, to shape, to prune as necessary. Celeborn has faded entirely. He still exists, technically, but he is more shadow than person, his will so completely absorbed into Galadriel that he has ceased to be an independent being. He stands at her side, silent and obedient, a testament to what happens to those who stay too close to the ring's power for too long. And the ring itself, it no longer needs to whisper. It has become part of her, fused to her essence as thoroughly as it was once fused to Sauron's. When she removes it, which she almost never does, she feels incomplete, diminished, as if a vital organ has been extracted. She is the ring, and the ring is her, and there is no longer any meaningful distinction between them. This is the true horror of the One Ring, not that it turns its bearer into a monster, but that it turns them into something that believes itself righteous. Galadriel does not see herself as a tyrant. She sees herself as a savior. Every restriction she imposes is for the greater good. Every freedom she curtails is to prevent suffering. Every choice she makes on behalf of others is wiser than the choice they would have made themselves. And she is not entirely wrong. Middle-earth under her rule is objectively better, by most measures, than it was before. There is less war, less hunger, less preventable death. If you value security and prosperity above all else, then Galadriel's reign is a golden age. But if you value freedom, the freedom to make mistakes, to choose your own path, to live a life that is messy and uncertain and truly your own, then it is a nightmare dressed in silk. In Barad-dûr, Sauron laughs. It is not a pleasant sound. It echoes through the iron halls of his tower, a grinding, metallic rasp that makes even the orcs cringe. But there is genuine amusement in it, a dark mirth born of irony. He has lost the One Ring. His plans for domination have been disrupted. His armies are scattered or turned. By all rights, he should be raging, plotting desperate gambits, throwing everything he has into a final, cataclysmic assault. But he does none of these things, because he has realized something that fills him with a satisfaction deeper than any conquest could provide. He has won, not in the way he intended, not in the way he planned, but he has won nonetheless. The One Ring was made to dominate, to bend all wills to the will of its wearer. Sauron intended to be that wearer, to use the ring to remake Middle-earth in his image. He would have ruled through fear, through overwhelming force, through the certainty that resistance was futile. Galadriel rules differently. She rules through light rather than darkness, through persuasion rather than terror, through the subtle erosion of will rather than its violent breaking. But the end result is the same. The free peoples are no longer free. They are managed, guided, controlled, for their own good, of course, but controlled nonetheless. The ring has fulfilled its purpose, not under Sauron's hand, but under Galadriel's, and in a way, this is even better. Because now, when the peoples of Middle-earth think of tyranny, they will not think of dark towers and armies of orcs. They will think of golden forests and beautiful queens. They will learn that domination can wear a fair face, that oppression can come dressed as salvation. And once that lesson is learned, it can never be unlearned. Sauron could reclaim the ring, perhaps. He could mount an assault on Lothlorien, wage a final war for control of the instrument of domination. But why bother? Galadriel is doing his work for him. She is proving the thesis that underlies all his philosophy. That power once seized cannot be wielded virtuously. That the road to tyranny is paved with good intentions. That there is no such thing as benevolent control, only control that has not yet revealed its true nature. So he waits and watches and allows Galadriel to continue her reign, knowing that eventually, inevitably, it will collapse. Because no system built on domination can last forever. The cracks will widen. The resistance will grow. The weight of maintaining absolute control will become unbearable. And when that collapse comes, when the Golden Age crumbles and the peoples of Middle-earth are left disillusioned and broken, Sauron will be there. Not to conquer, but to offer a different vision. Not better, but different enough that it will seem appealing in contrast. He is patient. He can afford to be. He is immortal after all, and he has nowhere else to be. In the meantime, he allows himself to enjoy the irony. The Lady of Light, the fairest of the Eldar, the one who was supposed to be above such temptations, has become what she most despised. And she does not even see it. It is, in its own way, a masterpiece. Decades pass. Centuries, perhaps. Time becomes difficult to measure when the world is held in stasis, when change is controlled and directed rather than organic. Galadriel sits on a throne in the heart of Lothlorien. It is not a throne in the traditional sense. There is no ostentatious seat of power, no crown, no scepter. But it is a throne nonetheless, a place from which she extends her will across all of Middle-earth, managing the vast web of influence that keeps the realm functioning. She is alone. Celeborn is gone, not dead, but faded, dissipated into nothingness as his identity was consumed by hers. Frodo is gone too, finally released into death when even Galadriel's power could not sustain the guilt that ate at him. The Fellowship is scattered, dead, or so thoroughly subsumed into her order that they are unrecognizable. Gandalf departed long ago, sailing into the west, unable to remain in a Middle-earth so thoroughly controlled. Before he left, he came to her one last time, standing before her in the glade where Frodo once offered her the ring. "You have become what you feared," he said simply. She looked at him, her eyes cold and distant. "I have become what was necessary." "There is always another choice," Gandalf replied. "Always." "Not anymore," she said. And he saw then that she truly believed it, that the ring had closed her mind so completely that she could no longer even conceive of an alternative. He left without another word, his heart heavy with the knowledge that one of the greatest of the Eldar was lost. Now, alone in her throne grove, Galadriel feels the weight of eternity pressing down. She has achieved everything she set out to do. Middle-earth is at peace. Sauron is contained. The peoples prosper under her guidance. It should be enough, but it is not, because she is tired, so very tired. The effort of maintaining her control, of projecting her will across an entire continent, of managing every detail of every life, has drained her in ways she did not anticipate. She is immortal, but immortality is not the same as infinite endurance. She can feel herself fraying at the edges, feel the boundaries of her being growing thin and uncertain. And more terrifying still, she can feel the ring beginning to act independently. Small things at first, decisions she does not remember making, words she does not recall speaking. The ring is no longer a tool she wields. It is using her, speaking through her, shaping reality according to its own designs. She tries to remove it. Sits for hours, days, pulling at the golden band, willing it to slide from her finger. But it will not move. It is fused to her, part of her, and to remove it now would be to tear away a piece of her soul if any soul remains. In her lucid moments, she understands what has happened. She has become a ringwraith in all but form, not a shadow creature like the Nine, but something perhaps worse. A wraith of light, a ghost wearing the shell of the Lady of Lothlorien, animated by the ring's will rather than her own. She wonders if the Nazgul felt this way in their final years. If they too had moments of clarity, brief windows, when they remembered what they once were, and realized with horror what they had become. If they too felt the crushing loneliness of absolute power, the isolation that comes from being so far above all others that connection is impossible. She reaches out, seeking comfort, seeking counsel, seeking anyone who might understand. But there is no one. She has subsumed or driven away everyone who might have helped her. She is alone with the ring and her choices, and the silence is unbearable. Somewhere in the ruins of Mordor, Mount Doom still burns. The fire that forged the ring still waits, the only force capable of unmaking it. She could go there. She could cast herself and the ring into the flames, ending her reign and freeing Middle-earth from her dominion. But she cannot. The thought itself is agony, the ring's influence so complete that even contemplating its destruction causes physical pain. She is trapped, a prisoner in a paradise of her own making, and there is no escape. And so she sits, and rules, and slowly, inevitably fades, not into the west, not into any peaceful ending, but into something cold and mechanical and utterly devoid of the warmth that once defined her. The Lady of Light has become the Queen of Shadow. And Middle-earth, beneath her, holds its breath and waits for an ending that may never come. What became of Middle-earth in the end? Did Galadriel's reign last forever, an eternal golden prison from which there was no escape? Or did it collapse, as all tyrannies eventually must, leaving ruin in its wake? The answer, perhaps, is both and neither. For the timeline we have walked is not the true timeline. It is a shadow path, a might have been, a vision glimpsed in the mirror of Galadriel but never made real. In the true history, Galadriel refused the ring. She passed the test, choosing diminishment over domination, accepting the long defeat rather than grasping for false victory. She remained Galadriel, the Lady of Light, fair and terrible and ultimately good. But the shadow path teaches us something vital. It shows us that even the greatest among us are not immune to corruption. That the lust for power is insidious, cloaking itself in noble intentions and righteous purpose. That the road to tyranny is not paved with evil, but with the certainty that one knows what is best for others. Tolkien understood this deeply. His mythology is filled with characters who fall not because they are wicked, but because they are proud. Fëanor, greatest of the Noldor, whose refusal to share the light of the Silmarils led to millennia of war. Ar-Pharazôn, mightiest of Númenor's kings, whose desire for immortality led to the destruction of his entire civilization. Saruman, wisest of the Astari, whose belief that he could wield the ring for good led to his utter corruption. And Galadriel, in our shadow path, joins that tragic lineage, not because she was evil, but because she believed herself strong enough to bear a burden that no one can bear, because she thought she could control what cannot be controlled, because she reached for power that should have been left alone. The real lesson of the ring is not that power is evil. It is that absolute power is impossible to wield virtuously. That the moment one person holds dominion over all others, freedom dies. Even if that dominion is exercised with the best of intentions, even if it brings prosperity and peace, even if it seems, by every objective measure, to be making the world better. Because a world without freedom is not better. It is merely controlled. And control, no matter how benevolent, is still a cage. In the true timeline, Galadriel understood this. She saw what she would become and chose to walk away. She accepted that Middle-earth would continue to be messy, chaotic, full of suffering and conflict. She accepted that the elves would fade, that her time was ending, that the future belonged to men with all their flaws and failures. It was the hardest choice she ever made. Harder than facing Morgoth. Harder than enduring the long ages of war. Because it meant accepting powerlessness, accepting that she could not fix everything, accepting that some problems have no solution and some suffering cannot be prevented. But it was the right choice, the only choice. The choice that preserved her soul and allowed her, in the end, to pass into the West not as a tyrant but as a hero. The shadow path, the timeline where she claimed the ring, is a cautionary tale. It is the dark mirror that every leader, every person in power, should be forced to gaze into. It asks the question, if you had absolute power, what would you become? And it suggests that the answer for almost everyone is something monstrous, not because we are monsters, but because power itself is monstrous, transforming even the best of us into something we would not recognize. In the end, the most heroic act in all of Tolkien's legendarium may be Galadriel's refusal. Not her battles, not her wisdom, not her long struggle against the darkness, but the simple act of saying no. Of turning away from the ring, of choosing to be less rather than more. It is an act that saved her, and in saving her, it saved Middle-earth. The mirror's surface ripples. The vision fades. We return to the true timeline, to the moment where Galadriel stands before Frodo, the ring glinting between them, the weight of choice pressing down like the atmosphere of a heavier world. For a moment, a single crystalline moment, she hesitates. We have seen what hangs in that hesitation, the shadow path that unfolds from a single word, a single gesture. But then she releases her breath. She steps back. Her hand does not reach forward. I passed the test, she says, and her voice trembles with relief and loss. I will diminish and go into the West and remain Galadriel. Frodo stares at her, not understanding the enormity of what has just happened, the apocalypse that has been averted. He sees only that she is still the Lady of Light, still the wise and terrible elf queen, still someone he can trust. The moment passes. The weight lifts. The shadow path closes, sealed away in the realm of might have been. But we who have walked that path carry its lesson. We have seen the corruption of light, the transformation of the fairest of the Eldar into a queen of shadow. We have witnessed the slow, inexorable process by which good intentions pave the road to tyranny. We have understood, in a way that mere description cannot convey, why the ring must be destroyed rather than wielded. And we remember. We remember that power, no matter how benevolent, always comes with a cost. That freedom is more precious than security, more valuable than prosperity, more essential than peace. That the greatest heroes are not those who seize power, but those who refuse it. We remember Galadriel's choice, the real choice, the one that saved her soul. And we carry it as a talisman against our own temptations, our own moments when the ring glimmers before us and whispers that we, unlike all who came before, could wield it virtuously. In Lothlorien, the golden leaves continue to fall. The mirror's surface stills. The Lady of Light tends her realm, knowing that it is fading, that her time is ending, that everything she has built will pass away. But she is at peace, because she chose rightly, because she remained herself, because she proved that even in the face of ultimate temptation, even when offered absolute power, it is possible to say no. And in that refusal lies the greatest victory of all. The ring remains with Frodo. The quest continues. The shadow of Sauron still hangs over Middle-earth, and the struggle is far from over. But the path forward remains open, untwisted by the corruption that would have come from Galadriel's fall. The shadow vision lingers in the mirror for a moment longer, a faint echo of golden forests turned to obsidian, of rivers running dark, of a queen who became what she most feared. And then it fades, dissolving into mist, becoming memory rather than prophecy. Some choices define us. Some moments pivot the course of history. And some refusals are greater acts of heroism than any victory in battle. Galadriel passed the test. Middle-earth endured. And the lesson remains, carved into the fabric of the story itself, waiting for all who have the wisdom to see it. That power, in the end, is best defined not by what we seize, but by what we choose to let go. Dear listener, this story ends, but many await. Subscribe so no tale escapes you.